And so the problem is that you, even though this was the result of science often thinks that it is not a belief system, but look, philosophically speaking, it's not such a clear-cut thing. Scientifically speaking it is, but philosophically speaking it isn't. So I put a theory forward on here, which is that, as it was said that God created man in its own image, that idea, I actually say that there's another way of looking at it, which is that humanity becomes that which it believes the universe is. It's kind of the other way around. We become the God that we believe in. And although science doesn't believe in a God, it does believe in a philosophical framework, and one that is essentially saying the universe is dumb. And the problem is that there is a fundamental issue with that, isn't there? Because how can we, if we are not dumb, but the universe is dumb, so we say the universe is dumb, except for us, we're not. There's something special about humanity, you see. By doing that, we've actually separated ourselves from the rest of the universe, and we don't consider ourselves part of the universe, as something that we don't grow out of the universe, right? We are separate. We appear in it, like suddenly out of the blue, we're suddenly going, what the hell is this thing? And we came from somewhere else. Of course, science denies that, because it's like saying, unless you believe in the soul. And so it's going like, well, it doesn't necessarily deny it, actually. But true science doesn't even deny that. It just says it's not part of science and doesn't try to answer that question. But you get the idea. So the problem what we end up with is that the position is fundamentally flawed if you were to say the universe is dumb, because if the universe was dumb, how did we appear? And so then a need arises to try and resolve this conflict. So how do you resolve that conflict? Well, there's a few ways of doing that, One is to change the model and say, no, the universe is not dumb. Now, that's very unpopular, and if you are in any form of academia, you really shouldn't go around too much, unless you're someone like Roger Penrose, who can get away with it, even just sort of hinting at it. You really need to leave that alone if you want to have any kind of career in science. It's still a very distasteful idea that there might be some kind of intelligence in things. Although philosophically speaking, I think it makes sense. Fortunately, my career is not based on, in that area. So there, I say it. It's like inanimate objects might have a very, very small level of consciousness. How would we know? And that we somehow are matter that are aggregated together by some mechanism we don't understand, from which pops out consciousness. But maybe that consciousness is something that flows throughout the universe, and we are just like conduits of it, or we reach a certain point where we're self-aware of it. It seems reasonable to me, because it's a problem. You can't say the universe is dumb, but we're not. So to resolve this, if you're not going to go and say, allow for the idea that the universe is potentially intelligent, this is a different thing from having an intelligent creator, by the way. It's just saying that the universe is of itself an intelligence. I love that idea, not popular. You're not going to say that, then you've got this dichotomy. What do you do? Well, you can look at it and say, well, there is no such thing as consciousness, and some people do that. It's all an illusion, that we have no free will, that we are machines ourselves. That would resolve it. You can seek to do that. The other thing that you can do is simply cut out of existence anything to do with that human side of things, to do anything to do with consciousness, with awareness. You can actually suppress it. Now, I'm not saying suppress it because there's some kind of plot, but it's a consequence of you are what you think. And so if humanity starts considering the universe as being dumb, eventually it's going to consider itself to be dumb. There's no two ways about that. It will find a way to solve this, and maybe AI is the way it's going to solve it. That we we won't do anything that is not machine-like anymore. This is, in effect, anything. So we won't do anything that isn't machine-like, right? We won't do anything human anymore. And I think, in a sense, it's a long time since I read it. The book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley is kind of on that theme, right? And I'm sad and concerned, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'm going, yeah, okay, well, I'm sure that this is just part of the cycle of civilizations everywhere. I'm sure there's a reason for it. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, sun up, the moon, cycle. Everything works with the cycle. Maybe there's a cycle between these two sides, between the machine and the humanity, the non-machine, the machine, and we don't even have a proper word for it. The effable and the ineffable. How's that? Maybe it's just all part of a natural cycle, and we're on that phase where we're heading to a world where we will forget our humanity. It will be lost, that we will live our lives like machines. And okay, if that's the way it's going to be, then that's the way it's going to be. But I can mourn. I played today the flute. I tried to play the flute over I Talk to the Wind by King Crimson. And it's Ian MacDonald, I think is the name of the flautist, who was also a saxophonist and so on. A little bit of trivia here. I actually spoke to him once on the phone. Before kickoff was a thing, in my early 20s, I was at a studio in not Milan, it was somewhere there, I can't remember the place now. Because a cousin of mine was actually married to an Italian pop star of the time. And there was a band that was recording, there was an album being recorded at the studio. And on a particular track they're working on, I just talked to them about this brilliant saxophonist, and and it was the guy from King Crimson. And so he said, well, let's call him. And of course they didn't speak English, so I spoke to him on the phone and arranged for him to come and record. So I got a gig for the Ian MacDonald and King Crimson. Unfortunately, he passed away. I only found that out now, but it was about probably a year ago. So I took the recording of I Talk to the Wind, second track on the on King Crimson's first album, and I tried to play along. And the hardest part of it was not crying. I couldn't play it either, but the hardest part of that was I had tears in my eyes. And I have tears in my heart for where we're going with humanity. We need artificial wisdom because we've run out of the real thing. And if I could put a kind of an advocacy for stories as opposed to facts, maybe we need those in order to keep our humanity. Maybe we need people who believe in crazy things to retain our humanity. Maybe we need to be careful before we throw the proverbial Baby out with the bathwater. Just grounding myself. Until next time, take care.